Welcome back. I'm going to discuss a possible solution to the problem we discussed in the last video. And I think that to answer the question, we need to consider from a philosophical, from the Torah's viewpoint, a difference between our obligation when it comes to, really, I would say, Lo samid al dam re'echa. The pasuk states that you can't stand by if a person is in danger. Somebody just stands by and does nothing. He's guilty of a very serious sin of Lo samid al dam re'echa. So we have that concept on the one hand, and on the other hand, we have also another fundamental concept in our religion called tefillah, which of course is, we see it's replete throughout Taanis stories about the power of tefillah, especially among great sages, but really just the power of tefillah b'tzibur, people getting together and davening for a cause, certainly to help fellow Jews in suffering, is very powerful. But what's the difference between those things? So I would say that if we're in a situation where we could help, we're a lifeguard, or we could call for help, we're in that Lo samid al dam re'echa situation. Well, on the one hand, we know that Hashem runs the world. Hashem's always pulling the strings behind the scenes. Our Torah obligation is to look at that situation as if it literally depends on us. That if we don't act, then because of our inaction, the person could die. We're literally responsible. You have to somehow hold that in your mind, along with the also equally true fact that Hashem runs the world. So that's why there's no disagreement. Rabbi Yossi for sure agrees that if it's le'ezraif, you could call out for help, you can call the Coast Guard, and you can do some kind of intervention or medical intervention. You do that, and nothing else stands before, pretty much, nothing stands, certainly Shabbos doesn't stand before pikuach nefesh. By contrast, when it comes to tefillah, there's less of a notion of we're saving the person. In a way, indirectly we are. If a tzaddik does a tefillah, the tzibur makes a tefillah, and it saves the person, you could say the tzibur saved the person, but there's a greater sense in that case of what you're doing is you're appealing to Hashem directly, and you're saying, Hashem, change the gzeira. Change it from a gzeira l'ra to a gzeira l'tova. So when it comes to that type of weapon, Chazal, according to Rabbi Yossi, factor in more the consideration of the Sviva Shabbos. And let's consider what that means. If you look at it just in the immediate sense of cost-benefit analysis, what's this going to cost Shabbos if we have a communal outpouring of tefillah? You could argue that it's not going to cost very much, and that's probably what the Tanna Kama indeed argues. But you could say that Rabbi Yossi is looking at this more in terms of, looking at the long game, looking at the potential long-term effects. If there was this kind of regular thing where, unfortunately things happen, not on a majorly infrequent basis. So if it wasn't uncommon for the tzibur to be getting together and screaming and opening the Aron Kodesh and screaming Avinu Malkeinu, Rabbi Yossi is concerned that this could have a serious impact on Shmiras Shabbos. And obviously we know Shmiras Shabbos, how much that's a cornerstone of Judaism. And so putting those two things together, I would suggest that, number one, the nature of the obligation is different when we're talking about, a Jew's obligation to daven for another Jew, and together with the fact that over time it could erode the way we observe Shabbos, the way Shabbos is supposed to have a certain atmosphere. The potential risk to that, taken together, Rabbi Yossi argues that while it's fine, for sure a person should daven privately for the plight that his fellow Jews are suffering, but we don't want to have, convene a public screaming of Yidam Malkeinu and that type of feeling that creates. And as some were sharing, and I think it's a very true idea, it comes down to the ultimate question we're always asking with these things is what does Hashem want from us? Once the halacha tells us that this is what Hashem wants from us, well then of course we understand and it's clear we believe that doing that will be the best thing that could help. So in other words, according to Rabbi Yossi, we don't rule like Rabbi Yossi, but following Rabbi Yossi's opinion, it would mean that the people following the halacha and properly honoring Shabbos and upholding Shabbos and not doing what almost feels natural, we naturally react and say Tehillim when there's suffering among our people. But sort of the mitzvah there to suppress that and honor Shabbos and privately daven and to master our emotions and control ourselves to adhere to what the halacha wants from us in this situation. That would be, the idea would be is that would be the greatest chus, doing that for Achenu Beis Yisrael, or in whatever tzar it is, well, we hope create a chus to change it from a gzeira that seems bad, it seems very scary, into a happy ending. Be'ezras Hashem. Thanks for watching and participating, and we'll see you in the next one.